In this tutorial, we're going to create the 2D ad that we see on the left based on the 3D virtual bottle that we see on the right. In the process, we'll discuss and talk about 3D assets for games and for animations, and how all the textures take place in Photoshop, and then they are wrapped around the three-dimensional model, such as the bottle we see here on the right. So let's get started with the .obj 3D bottle virtual model that is in the zip folder. I'll go to File and Open, and I'll click on beer bottle.obj, and I'll choose Open, and I'm going to set the resolution for 200. And when you do this, make sure that RGB is selected. And we should be looking at something like this. And if I were to hit V on the keyboard to get my Move tool, I can see that I can now manipulate that in 3D space. Now it's a little premature to be doing this because we need to design the label and then come back and then position the bottle the way we want to ultimately be left with this. So with the virtual model selected, we're going to apply a dummy texture that I've also enclosed in the zip file to get started on this. In order to add a texture to a 3D entity that's been provided via Maya or 3D Studio Max, we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go to 3D, and then we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go to Properties. And I'll put these side by side so this is somewhat clear. I'm going to select Revolve Surface in the 3D window. And when I do that, also in 3D window, I'm going to click on the little icon to the left of the light bulb. And in the Properties box, now you'll see where we can introduce the texture. Now, a texture inside of Photoshop is called a diffuse map. And you'll see the word diffuse at the top. And at the end of that, you'll see kind of a page icon. If I was to click on that, I get the option to go down and replace texture. Now, if you were to look in the folder I've provided you, you're going to see color skinref.jpg, and I'll open that up. And you'll see that that reference texture has been added to the bottle. Now I'm going to close out the properties and the 3D window because now it's a matter of generating a PSD on which to create the rest of our label. These are just for reference. So I'll go over and I will select Cider Skin Ref in the layer window, and when I double click on it, it opens up the flat UV map that we will need to create our own file. You'll see a red line through the center, and that red line is a reference for you. So when you start to place this content where you'd like it to be for the label, you can see how they will line up. So now that I've opened that up, I'm going to save this out as a separate PSD, create the texture in its entirety, then return to the 3D model and apply it. I'll go to File, Save As, and in my folder, I'm going to name it, and I'm going to change the format down below to Photoshop. And I will save. And at the top now I can see my new PSD is open. Now all we need to do is close out the beer bottle, and I'm going to save that as a PSD as well. I'll go to File, Save As, and I'll give it an appropriate name. You're going to put your name on this, whatever it is, you need to be organized. And again, I'm confirming that it is a Photoshop file. Now I'm going to close it out. And now we're ready to begin creating our texture.